The following is a presentation of Project Independence and WCWP. Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead.
Welcome to Project Independence and You.
Good morning and welcome to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio. I'm your host, Rebecca Miller, along with co-host Otto Lose and our show's producer, Kristina Liu, who is also the Director of Senior Citizen Affairs for the town of North Hempstead's Project Independence. Good morning, Otto. Good morning, Kristina.
Good morning. Good morning.
Well, we have a wonderful guest today. So happy. Every show is great. Kristina pulls these shows together, but it's, very special to have North Hempstead Town Supervisor Jennifer DeSena with us today. And today, you've been a guest many times on the show, and it's always a great show. But today we're going to be talking mostly about the 2024 state of the town. So first of all, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It's great to have you.
It's great to be with you. Of course, I'll always be with you. I'm very proud of Project Independence and all you do. And congratulations on 17,000 members. We are doing great work for our senior residents. And by the way, senior residents, I hate to even say that as I am about to be just 5 years from joining Project Independence myself.
I'm like 5 minutes from joining it. I just want you to know.
Are we going to have a celebration where we give you a card? And
I'm expired.
Yeah, I'm almost there. So, we have a lot of talking points. And one of the things that you sent over to us, and I just love, and it makes me feel, so it's so true. It's we are one town. Yes. And I know it sounds so simple, but the town has so many spectacular resources, and obviously for the entire town, all ages, but especially for Project Independence. And it's, I'm thinking about the proximity in every way, the beaches, the healthcare just at our fingertips, and the shopping, of course. But it's just so wonderful. It's wonderful for seniors, and it's wonderful, for all our residents in the town. So I really love that opening of, we are one town. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, well, we are one town, and the town of North Hempstead is something to be very proud of. As you said, we have amazing resources. We have the best healthcare. I mean, I don't think there's anywhere in the country that has the amount of healthcare, amazing hospitals right here. Okay. So it's a wonderful place to stay and, to not move. By the way, when I ran for town supervisor, it was a little bit of a battle with my husband as to, are we leaving? Because our kids were in college. And some people, when their kids are in college, say, okay, it's time to move out of a high tax area when we're no longer using our amazing public schools. Some people say, well, it's time to go somewhere else. But when I ran for town supervisor, is my way of saying, nope, I'm staying here. I love it here. And but the one town means we have to work together. And from my point of view, I'm the supervisor of the whole town. I have met incredible people. We have 31 villages inside the town. And we have a lot of different groups. People tend to kind of operate within groups, geographically, but they're all my residents. And so my goal is to deliver the best services at the best price. That means your taxpayer dollars. And we do that by making sure that we always operate efficiently, that our commissioners make a plan that will accomplish the most fast and with a reasonable price. So, the other way that sometimes people look at it is, well, my council person is going to get me this, my council person is going to get me that. I don't feel that our residents are getting the best value for their tax dollar when we have competing interests like that. It should not matter who your council person is. Our commissioners can deliver on large projects when they plan for the whole town.
You know, I look at the culture, like the town of North Hempstead, the multiple cultures in this town,
Hmm.
uh, and I think for the most part get along. Um,
Yes.
which is a pretty good example for a lot of other places where
Yeah.
there's like a battle between cultures. I don't, I'm
Hmm.
sure there's a little of that, but I don't see it. I think it's there. And the other
Well,
one is there's how many school districts are there in the town of North Hempstead?
mhm.
And they range all over the lot, and they have to
Yes,
get along.
I could not tell you the exact number, but the school districts have a big impact, obviously, and the school taxes, the budget season is coming up. That has a huge impact on our seniors. We all know that the largest portion of our taxes is going towards the schools. Um, you know, it's it's good for our home values when our public schools are good. And the nice way to look at it is, if you raise your kids here, you're still going to go support the schools because your neighbors are now moving in here and they're raising their kids. And a lot of us would love our own kids to move here and raise their kids. So it makes sense to support our school districts. I also want to make sure that we keep the town's tax burden as low as possible because some of it is out of my control, but what is in my control I've been keeping as low as possible, and I was able to deliver tax cuts the last 2 years. So I mean, that really, every little bit helps. Every dollar helps when they're your dollars. You earned them and you should keep them if you can.
I really like what you were saying too in the beginning, is it doesn't matter per se, what area you're covering as a council person. We're still accountable for every resident.
Yes.
You're accountable for the resident who has the question and, guiding them. And that's kind of like what we do with Project Independence. We kind of, okay, well, we're going to find out. Maybe it's not that domain in that particular region, but it doesn't mean that I'm not gonna help you or guide you to that person or entity that's going to give you what we need. And I was thinking too, like, even when you said these, the taxes here are higher, but I'm dealing with my stepmother in Florida who doesn't have that access to the healthcare and
Yeah.
the doctors within the town where they live. I mean, there's a lot down there and there's a lot on Long Island, but just within, North Hempstead. I mean, we have St. Francis and Northwell and and Langone, NYU Langone and LIJ. And I mean, and all of those doctors practicing local. And of course, with Project Independence Transportation, that's helpful too. So it really is such an important location geographically, North Hempstead. It really is.
Absolutely. We have amazing resources, and I have family in Florida experiencing the same thing.
Yeah.
They're delaying appointments for weeks and they're having to drive, pretty far to
Yeah.
get to see a certain doctor. And, you would never think of that right here. We take it for granted,
Right.
the experts that we have here.
Right. It's not a thought here, and when
No.
you go there and it's like, oh, you might be, within, Boynton Beach, and then you have to go to Boca or Del Rey, or your 87-year-old relative is got to drive. And then here it's like, of course, you have our transportation program too, but it's also so local. So it really is a very, very important location
Right.
on Long Island and New York.
And what you do, what the last meeting I went to was amazing. It was such good education about aging well, about eating healthy, about exercise, getting outside, what's the right kind of exercise. These are things that we keep in mind. They help us get through the winter, some tips for there's so many ways that our seniors can socialize through Project Independence. So it is tough to get through winter. We had a wonderful taste of weather on Sunday.
Oh, we sure did.
Spring is coming, so that's good news. We're making it through another winter, and we're about to go into so many fun events that Project Independence does.
Sunday, by the way, you mentioned, I think it was Sunday, the weather was spectacular, and I'm a Tully Park user. I walk there a lot, and that park was completely packed. The
Yeah.
parking lot was almost full. There was
Wow.
also a play going on at the high school, which is
Wow.
right there. So between the two of them, the parking lot was packed. The pickleball courts were all full. I don't know how many dogs there were in the dog park, but it was packed. Basketball was packed. There were people playing tennis. The only thing that struck me as a young kid, a boy, I played a lot of baseball, and there was absolutely nobody in the park playing baseball, which I really I found interesting because in my youth, we would have been out there, and that's what we would have been doing. So it shows you how the cycle has changed somewhat. Uh, but the park was packed. And one of my questions to you is, because I'm a Tully user, they've done a lot of work there between the pickleball courts and the new football field. And the track is almost finished. They have to do, I'm an observer because I'm there a lot. But as I think and my question is, how far off is, like in your talks about capital plan and master plan, just a specific question related to Tully. How far off do you think it is before the parking, and it usually gets pretty flooded
Right.
somewhere in that park?
Yes.
What's the
As you know, Tully is built on a landfill. So the ground tends to sink. And, a funny story I often tell is that after I was elected, somebody said, "Oh, I went for a swim at Tully." And I said, "Oh, that's great, because I like swimming too." And he said, "Yeah, in the parking lot, because it had rained." And there are huge puddles. The parking lot has been a problem, and it's something that in the past they have made repairs, but really as soon as the repairs are done, it starts to deteriorate again. So you do a repair every 8 or 10 years, but for most of those years, it's also in bad shape. So we are doing, it's not really a repair, it's a rebuild. It's going to be more substantial, and when it's done, it should last, almost 30 years. It'll involve putting in a geogrid that will really support the material so that we don't get these sinkholes in the parking lot. It has taken longer than we expected to get started. It is complicated because of the landfill underneath, but also for 5 years we did not have a commissioner of DPW, and it's beyond me why prior administrations and town boards didn't fill that job, but I did. I'm very excited. We have a new commissioner, the first woman commissioner of DPW. She's from Port Washington and wanted to come back. She was working in the city, working crazy hours in the private sector. And she wanted to come back and see projects in her own town come to fruition. So we're thrilled to have her, and also a deputy commissioner. So we're going to be moving these projects faster. And we've had an amazing team in there, an acting commissioner of DPW. But they have their work to do, and then they also were doing management work. So we hope that this Tully parking lot will be rebuilt this year, at least started this year. I mean, I'm not an engineer. I can't tell you exactly how long the project will take once it's started, but it should get started this year.
So this is like part of, on a bigger picture, capital plan, which I know you brought up at
Yes.
Right.
So, the town has its operating budget. We vote on that every year around November. That's the basics of keeping the town going. The capital plan is where we budget for, larger projects. Again, it has not been, for many years, it's been a little bit unrealistic. People just say, "Oh, I'll put it in the capital plan," but it's not a real plan with progress being made, with numbers. And so we have gone through the capital plan. We've eliminated some things in there that were 10 years old. Something that's in there that's 10 years old and hasn't been started, it's unrealistic. Prices have changed. It's not a real plan. So we are going to have, real progress posts in there, goals, so that when something goes in the capital plan, you'll see it come to fruition. It's got to be finished within 2 to 5 years. So I feel like this will be a little more transparent. We'll be able to really say to the residents, this is what we're committed to doing, and we're going to do it.
Yeah, like it's more of accountability again, just kind of that, because I know that you're revamping it and, the whole master plan.
Well, without putting too much pressure on you in terms of commitment, what would be a picture of some of the items that would be in this capital plan?
Let's see. There are a lot of things. Some things involve grant money. So one of the things that there probably is a piece of it in the capital plan is North Hempstead Beach Park. It's amazing. It's also often known as Bar Beach. People who've been around a while, we call it Bar Beach. There has been, visioning and, but nothing has been done. And we do have grant money available to really, really make it nice. The basketball courts are cracked. People would like to see a dog park. Some people would like to see the miniature golf space. I mean, it's just overgrown. Nothing has been done with it. So that is one of the areas, North Hempstead Beach Park. We want real usable facilities. I mean, it's great. We go there for Fun Day Monday, but there's so much more that can be done with that park. I
just started working on that flyer yesterday, by the way, for Fun Day Monday.
Oh, so good.
We're updating it. I know that also you were talking, one of the things about the efficient lighting, the LED lighting. And could you kind of talk a little bit about that and what kind of savings is involved with that as well?
Well, LED lighting is something that people have been talking about for years. It's, better for the environment. It's going to use less electricity. These bulbs will last longer. So there was a plan to put LED lighting in the whole town. But when you look at it district by district and you just do like 2 roads here, 2 roads here, so that everybody sees something, we're not making the same kind of progress. We need this plan to fit the whole town at once. And by doing that, we can finish the whole town in less than 2 years.
That's great, because we are right in time for a break. And after the break, we'll definitely be talking more about the town's master plan with Supervisor Jennifer DeSena, Town Supervisor of North Hempstead. You're listening to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio.
WCWP is your home for great music and great conversation. You'll find all that and more on WCWP.org. Listen live on the web, check out the lineup, subscribe to podcasts, and stay up to date on the latest station events. Get in touch with us and let us know if you like what you're hearing. And find out how you can support or get involved at the only community public radio station serving Nassau's North Shore. Plus, sign up to get a free bumper sticker. It's all online at WCWP.org.
Welcome back to Project Independence in You. I'm your host, Rebecca Miller, along with Otto Lose and, of course, Kristina Liu, our radio show producer extraordinaire. We're talking with our North Hempstead Town Supervisor, Jennifer DeSena, all about the state of the town. And just before we had a break, I know you had to kind of rush a little bit. We were talking about LED lighting and that the plan is to be town-wide with LED lighting. So that's great. I think that's going to be a massive savings, electricity and also tax dollars. So that's a great plan. We talk a lot about
just one area with that LED lighting. I had some involvement with that in my past, and it's not like you just plug a new bulb in. There's a whole lot of other stuff involved.
It's amazing what the technology involved, because these lights, they can actually report back to administrative services that they're out. We will be able to monitor and, take care of a light that's out, much faster. once we do this. And so, people just need to, as long as they understand that the whole town will be done, and let our team, approach it in an economic way, in an efficient way. When you stop what you're doing, let's say you're New Hyde Park, you do a little bit, and then you stop and you go over to Westbury, and then you stop and go up to Port Washington, you've lost some efficiency. So we believe that by doing the whole town, we can accomplish it quicker and cheaper and have a wonderful product at the end.
Yeah, and I think everybody has to understand that this is
Yes.
not just plugging in a new bulb.
Right.
There's a whole lot involved that goes on behind it. So
Yeah.
it's not, like a 5-minute job where somebody goes in and plugs in all new bulbs.
True. So the state of the town is, obviously your plan, your master plan for the year and the future and all that. But it's also, it's an event, and it's put on by the League of Women Voters. And I know that you want to talk a little bit about that.
Right. And by the way, March is Women's History Month. So, one of the other wonderful things the town does is the Women's Roll of Honor. Right. That those plans will be underway. So think about the women who are doing amazing work for the community and nominate them. Send their name in. It's so easy. You find the form. It gets submitted to the town clerk's office. You find the form. You write a paragraph about a woman who has really made the town better in any way. There's so many ways that people help others, and that will be a wonderful ceremony. That when every year we add 12 to 15 women to the North Hempstead Women's Roll of Honor. But the League of Women Voters, they're dedicated to educating and especially, about voting. It's so important to go vote. And, I have Girl Scouts come in all the time, and I see the look of shock on their faces when I say, do you know that only about 100 years ago, women weren't allowed to vote? And they can't believe it because we take this for granted. I do. I mean, look at me. I would not be the town supervisor elected if there had not been amazing women who came before me, who knocked down those doors. So the League of Women Voters does such a vital job of letting people know who are the candidates. They have candidate forums, educating. They sometimes advocate. But this event is it's a social event too. So anybody who has never been before, you can pay for lunch because it starts with lunch with the league. We have a lot of community leaders, a lot of school board members, school superintendents, library trustees, commissioners, mayors. It's a wonderful gathering of the community. So there's lunch, and it's at Harbor Links. It's, reasonable, $40 or so, but you have to sign up for that. And you sit with probably members of your community. And then there's the state of the town. Anybody can come in. So at that point, they bring in extra seating, and you're welcome to come in. The speech varies, anywhere. This year, I kept it brief. Last year, it was a little longer, and some years it's been very long. It's funny because I always get a lot of compliments on the short speeches. People love short speeches. So, but anyway, there's the state of the town, and then we have a question and answer session afterwards. So, it's a great way, and so it gives me a chance to say, what I would like to do in the coming year. So, in a way, it's a time to announce. I want to distinguish that from the actual master plan, because a master plan is something within my plans. A master plan involves looking at the zoning of the whole town. People often say, what does the supervisor do? What does the town board do? One of the major things is zoning. So North Hempstead has not done a master plan for over 30 years. And it's a community process. We will be hiring a company to help. An RFP goes out to choose the company. And we will have meetings all around the town about what changes in zoning we would find acceptable. everybody knows, you don't want a one size fits all approach. We don't want Albany to tell us this is where you're going to build, and you're going to build this number, and you're going to do it within 3 years. It's not realistic. It doesn't work. It's unaffordable. We don't have enough sewers, power, police. We don't have, we just can't build that way. But there is a need for some different housing as, as our needs evolve. So the master plan is a chance to identify where would we like to build some different type of housing. Once this is done, and it takes a year and a half. Once that's done, we'll be able to build better, and it will be smoother for developers, the community, because there's an expectation of what we want and what can happen and where we want it.
What you can sustain. I mean, you're right.
Yes.
It's like it would be great to put buildings and homes, but do you have the infrastructure to sustain, and parking, and there's so many things that go into kind of more development.
Right.
Land is at a premium also in North Hempstead. I mean, there's not a lot of
there's not a lot.
Yeah.
No, but what about, I mean, part of this I'm guessing would be like there are some pretty beat up industrial areas that kind of like are doing nothing. And then there's a lot of like strip mall type stuff where nothing is going on there either. Would this be kind of looked at in terms of this master plan?
Yes. We sometimes talk about repurposing, we don't have land to develop, but we can repurpose some land. So yes, there, a lot of this has to, needs evolve. So you might have a community that in the past said, we don't want anything. We don't want any multifamily dwellings. We don't want any apartments. But when they then see, well, it might be something that's only 3 stories. It might be for seniors only. They actually think about it. They're like, well, I like that. I don't know where my parents are going to live. Where are places that people can stay? It's very much similar to Project Independence's goal is, trying to let us stay here.
Right. Right.
So by letting the community be heard and having experts also assist with what's needed as far as water and sewers and parking, we can sort of put aside some old preferences and accept what do our today's residents want. And it's about the future of North Hempstead too. I mean, I have to be concerned about the future of North Hempstead as well. What am I doing to make sure that we are growing in a way that preserves the character and history of North Hempstead, but also, helps us keep growing. If nobody thinks that North Hempstead is friendly to building or businesses, they're going to leave. And when businesses leave, who will be paying the taxes? Who's going to be left behind paying the taxes? So, they're all things that we have to consider together as North Hempstead grows and thrives.
And as we age, because we've never before, I think, anywhere in the country, in fact, have had so many people living so old, so much older, into their 90s and hundreds, and wanting to stay in their home. And we don't know a lot about it, so we're kind of watching to see what happens. And, of course, as we get older, the homes need to be more accessible. So, these are things like with Project Independence that we're learning too, and we're able to connect to those kinds of services that can help somebody stay in their home where they want to be. We get older, we get frail, things do happen, but cognitively we're great. We want to stay in our home, we want to stay in our town. But so it's great to hear you, wanting to stay so progressive and looking into the future. And really, you have to understand your population. I like, it's like when people, other towns, supervisor come to us. Oh, I think every other township on Long Island, how do we want to do Project Independence in our town? We want to do exactly what you're doing. What you can do a form of it, but you can't do what we do. You have to understand your population and resources. We happen to have incredible resources, hospitals, and where our location, our proximity to things. So we know what we have, so we can work with those services. So maybe somewhere far out east, they could do a Project Independence, but they have to understand what great resources they have to connect seniors to it. So it's, it's great to hear you say you just really you have to kind of be patient a little bit and see where, the town is progressing. And there are so many accomplishments I want to talk to you about that's happened over the last 2 years and going down the road. I know that the substance misuse advisory is a very important council, and your background, and it is extraordinary. So I mean, I'd love to hear a lot about that and where you see that going to down the road.
Again, we have we have great experts. I work a lot with LICAD, the Long Island Council on Alcohol and Drug Dependence, Family and Children's Association.
Yeah.
These two organizations. I mean, there's plenty. The Guidance Center. Some of these experts help me with the advisory committee, and I go to them to find out what do we need to do, what do we need to announce to people. This message about fentanyl, it's starting to get out there. I saw some very powerful commercials starting with the Super Bowl. There was a very powerful commercial showing a 19-year-old who went to college and died. First time she used a pill. She thought it was Percocet, but it's fentanyl, and she died. You don't get to recover from some mistakes. And with fentanyl out there, it's hitting families that never had any experience with substance use. They never had experience with counseling because, there was no warning. These kids thought they were taking Adderall or Percocet or Xanax. And, our culture has been very accepting of medication. Again, when you look at TV, it's constantly pharmaceutical companies advertising pills and saying, go ask your doctor if you should take this. So we are taking a lot of pills. And when our kids think you can solve your problem, or you can be happier, or you can be more competitive if you take a pill, and then what if there's a shortage of pills? I've been hearing that there's going to be a shortage of Adderall because so many people are now taking it for ADHD. And it's good if you're prescribed it by a doctor, but if you're self-prescribing and then you're getting it, you don't know what that is. And now, we might see more and more. I mean, and we've got to eliminate the stigma of it, of talking about dying from a poison in a pill called fentanyl, because it's not always recreational. Even these are kids taking it to study for an exam.
And
so
there's no way to know.
Excuse me?
There's no way to know if it's in there.
No, they don't know what it is. They don't think that they're taking a drug. They don't consider that drug use. They think it's medication.
But what is the motivator? I'm sorry, but what is the motivator for whoever makes these pills to push it with fentanyl in it? What is
money?
Oh, yeah.
It's cheaper that way, or
it's very cheap. They've been saying that fentanyl is going to replace heroin. You're not going to hear about people dying from heroin, because like heroin users, they had a tolerance. They kind of knew what they were doing. They were taking heroin, but you don't, like, fentanyl is so much cheaper to manufacture. A tiny amount mixed in with some other drug makes it very, very good feeling. It's something that the person uses and they want it again. So it's the drug seller is going to mix this into their products so that people come back and buy it. And yeah, occasionally one of their customers dies. And you think, well, why would you sell something that's going to kill your customer? Because there's so many other customers.
Right.
And it is so cheap. So it's just about money.
Yeah, it really is. It's so important. The education is really the only way. I mean, getting the word out, like you're saying, these commercials. We're talking about, seniors too, their grandchildren,
Yes.
their families. Most grandparents today are in some way, shape, or form, if not every day, taking some kind of care of grandchildren. There's a connection. So it's important for grandparents to also be aware of it. And I mean, it's so frightening. Just
Yeah.
thinking about, I think about my kids and okay, they're out of college now and it's like, okay, it's like, oh my gosh, you don't want to feel that way. Well, they made it, but some of their friends didn't.
Right.
And it's really, it's not a game. It just shouldn't even be around. But we
Well, I
do
can
have to
speak from
take a
family
break. Um,
experience.
we're going to take a quick break right now, and after break, we will continue talking about what's happening in the state of the town with our supervisor, Jennifer DeSena, and we'll be back shortly.
So I get this call from my grandma, and she's like,
"What's a podcast and how much does it cost?"
So I tell her, podcasts are like radio shows, but you can download them on any device and listen to them anywhere at any time, and they're free. And then she says,
"I see, but where can you find good ones?"
And I'm like, go to wcwp.org/podcast and check out the lineup of original shows, or download any podcast app on your phone or tablet and search for LIU Studios. And she's all like,
"Oh, that sounds easy."
And then she asked me what an app is.
LIU Studios podcasts, available on any podcast app. Those little button things on your phone screen. Just ask your grandkids.
Welcome back to Project Independence and You. I'm your host, Rebecca Miller, along with co-host Otto Los, and of course, our radio show producer, Kristina Liu. We are talking with North Hempstead Town Supervisor, Jennifer DeSena, all about the state of the town and the master plan and the capital plan. And I do like to talk a lot about the accomplishments and kind of, the things that we, have happened in your first term. So, I mean, you were here for 2 years and reelected. So you're definitely doing something right. What are kind of, I don't want to put you on the spot and say, what are your kind of top kind of accomplishments or things that you really appreciate, and maybe your vision has kind of helped your vision for the future?
So I think it's about results. When I was first elected, we were coming out of the pandemic, and people, I think, really wanted to see something happen. And they thought, well, I'm someone new. Maybe I'll take the town in a different direction, because I had no connections. I had never been in politics before. So maybe I would be the one who would move the town in a few directions where it has been reluctant to go. And I'll say that there was a lot of reluctance in my first 2 years. Some of the things that I wanted to change were blocked. There was sort of, there was sort of an attitude of let's just wait and see. Maybe we'll make another change in 2 years. But I was able to get some results, and so people thought, hey, let's give her another chance. And so I'm very grateful to have another 2 years. And so some of the things that I'm proud of are that we did cut taxes for 2 years. We were able to. We had been we had been overtaxing, and so we were able to do more with less during my first 2 years. Also, we're making progress with the building department. This is something that has had systemic problems for over 15 years. So not something that you can fix overnight. But I did take a huge step and call for an independent audit of the building department. Whatever they find, and then we start making some changes. So I think the people like that. They felt like we were going to finally move forward. And we were able to deliver some projects that people wanted. I'll tell you, in my own town, in Manhasset, the businesses have been asking for help connecting to the sewers for many, many years. And it's difficult. that's a huge project. No one business can go along and say, I'm going to have sewers put in so that I can save money and do better by the environment. We were very fortunate to be able to leverage some grant money. So Assemblywoman Saliti was able to get a New York State grant, and I was able to allocate some of our ARPA money. That's federal money that was given to the town during the pandemic to help businesses recover from the losses of the pandemic. So it was a perfect synergy, to put that together. And so now we're not using taxpayer dollars, we're using the grant money, and we're going to have an incentive so that stores will make a commitment to connect. There will be expenses for them to connect to the main sewer line. But if they do it within a certain time period, they will get some assistance from this program, a rebate. And once it's finished, we will finally commit to repaving the road and the sidewalks, which is something that we've been waiting for a long time. We also made a commitment in Carl Place to replacing those sidewalks and Westbury Avenue. That's something where when you have a lot of layers of government like we have here, you sometimes have the town say, no, the county has to do it. The county says, no, the town has to do it. But we made a commitment with the county to do this project together. So so that's another something that, it's results. People in the community were grateful that after so many years, someone said, we're doing it now.
Right. And once you're done and the sidewalks are more walkable, it's better for all the stores and the retail and the vendors and the community. And it's definitely it's definitely a great accomplishment. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I lived in Manhasset for 26 years, and the stores along there, I remember talking to a few people over the years. It was like 70 or 80,000 a year just to keep the cesspool pumped out for a business. And I think that's a big deterrent. Frankly, it was a deterrent for me as far as a homeowner goes, but I don't see that changing too easily.
Well, the project that we do could be a roadmap for connecting other neighborhoods as well. I mean, that's years down the road, but I already did start meeting with some colleagues in government and a few of the neighbors that are closest to Planum Road. Obviously, it'll be easiest for them to connect on because they're closest to Planum Road. We do always have to be thinking about the future. What are we doing now? What can I do now to have future town residents in a better position? And it's more sustainable. Why would we want to have a truck drive in here every week to pump out, the water, the dirty water, when we can have it go to a great water treatment plant right down the hill in Great Neck. So, that's sustainability.
That's great. That's so good. So Supervisor, I know that you're a very, I want to say, health conscious person in terms of fitness and exercise. And I know that you're a runner. We know we've talked a lot about fitness. Project Independence, of course, has a great fitness program, and we air it on North Hempstead television. And we can't possibly have you on and not talk about pickleball. I mean, it's just it's such a craze. And at Fun Day Monday, we've for the last 2 years, we have a pickleball instructor who comes and does instruction for 2 hours. But I know that there's been an investment also through you with our parks to build some pickleball courts. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I'm so proud of our Parks Department because they designed that project, and we're very, very hands-on in seeing that project through from start to finish. We did that relatively quickly. So it's 14 pickleball courts, and they are for town residents. This was built with tax dollars. Starting to get anonymous emails from people saying guests should be allowed. But if they're anonymous, I don't even know if these are town residents who are asking for that. So we're going to make sure that our town residents are able to get out and try pickleball if they haven't yet. And I know that someone is starting to give lessons over there, through the town. We're handling that. So it's amazing. It's amazing, how popular pickleball is. But one of the things that, we are committed to our parks. Those are over in Tully. There's a few pickleball courts in Clinton G. Martin. We can consider whether we should build additional courts. But, our parks are a place for physical health and mental health and socializing. It all comes together. So I personally, I only played pickleball once on the day that we did a ribbon cutting over at Tully.
With no shoes on.
Yes, I had them on at first, and then I took them off. Someone told me to take them off, so I did.
But then the ground was too hot.
It was very hot. It was a very hot day. Yes.
I was witness.
Yeah. Yes.
I love how you brought up mental health. At our last PI advisory, I don't know if Kristina wants to chime in, but we had a Project Independence member who hadn't been to a meeting in public since COVID. And she came up to Kristina, I believe, and and you can tell the supervisor what she said about the exercise and how much it helped her.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was, we hadn't seen her, as Beck mentioned, since pre-pandemic. And she was just saying how lovely it was that we have these exercise classes and how it's helped her physical health and mental health, that she's able to do it in her home. So she said, please, please, please make sure North Hempstead TV exercise classes do not go anywhere. I said, they're there to stay. Do not worry. But, it gave her that comfort, and it was part of her routine. And I think that it's so lovely, Supervisor. And I have to say, as I, sit here and listen to everything, you always find a way to come to our advisories, whether it's virtual or in person, and you just show up and you just really are taking in the speakers. And I have to give you a special shout out for that, because it's such a lovely thing to really have that support. And I think, our goal always, this show especially, it's mental health and physical health and how this all kind of intertwines. And I think that it aligns certainly with, how you want to see for the town too. So it's just a special little collaboration, I think, of everyone all together.
And it's great for the residents to have you there too. It's, it really shows how you're not just invested in Project Independence as a great program, but you listen and
I'm amazed and I'm learning.
Yeah.
I go there to learn.
Yeah.
But I'm amazed. I do need to hear it. I have to be there to hear it, to understand, how much we're delivering for our seniors and the ways that they can connect. Something we were saying earlier, there's a lot of different groups around the town. I have the honor of being invited into a lot of different places, and sometimes they're religious services, sometimes they're cultural celebrations. But we're all the same. We all have the same needs. We have the same worries, worries about health, worries about affordability, but also the need to talk about our challenges. And, we can help each other so much just by listening.
Absolutely. And listening, actually, you can hear stuff, but you listen. And, every Project Independence program we have has come from an advisory, really. We do model from the NORC model, but every meeting we listen, we get calls all the time. Gee, I really wish you would have this program here. Or, Kristina, even on the radio show, she's like, I really need help figuring out what you want to hear. Do you have recommendations for guests? So we listen to the residents and try to kind of frame our programming around what the needs are. And it changes over the years. Something you were saying earlier, where, how people kind of shift their attitude a little bit about, maybe cohabitating with a parent or doing something like that. Things change. If you told me 20 years ago my current living situation, would have said absolutely not. There's just no way. But things change, and important things that weren't as important are much more important. So Yeah, listening is so I've learned so much, Supervisor. I mean, I've been working with Project Independence for 17 years, and Otto too. He can tell you, you know, things have changed from when we first started and the things that we're doing now. And again, like we were talking about, you know, the silver tsunami with seniors who are hitting 65, 10,000 a day, according to AARP, until all the baby boomers hit 65, and people living so much longer. I mean, that's such a big range of people, you know. So, and it changes, needs change. And most of our people 65, I mean, that I know are still working, you know, talking about retirement. A lot of people are talking about retirement or wishing for it, but most of them are still working.
And
Well,
something
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to piggyback really, really quick. The important thing is that we listen to our seniors.
Right.
And you're providing a forum to listen to our seniors, because very often their voices are not being heard anymore.
True.
I mean, and that's the worst. I mean, who are we supposed to learn from if not our seniors?
Right.
So Otto, I want to thank you, because you're always sharing. And I mean, how can we expect to do better if we're not listening to people who have seen it done different ways, and who can share, well, what's it like now? What is your life like now? And how can we address that? So, I feel like that's what this is all about.
Well, I'd like to give a little applause to the Project Independence team, from the top to everybody involved. I have been in the corporate world, and I'm still semi-involved for years, all right, 60 whatever number of years. And this team is right up there with any team I've ever been involved with. They are committed to the program, they listen, they implement, and they do a lot for the whole senior population in the town of North Hempstead. So a gold star to you two on the show here and everybody else on the team. You're exceptional, and you do a great job. You really do.
Oh, Otto, you're getting me verklempt. I'm getting
I can't give you any increases in pay.
Well, I'm going to double your salary. Whatever you're making, doubling it.
Triple it.
You heard that from the supervisor.
Yeah.
Otto will keep you on your toes. I mean, Otto keeps us all on our toes. So many of the things that we've implemented have come from him, and it's through his experience. Kind of when we talked a little bit about, can we say Alexa? I don't want to trigger anyone. And talked about that and brought guests in. So it's so much of I think a lot of what we do too is we listen to Otto, and you bring in guests, and we of course. Our dear friend to Project Independence. I don't even know where Project Independence would be without Otto. I don't know. I know Kristina is going to start crying too in a second.
Oh, you'd be there, I'm very fortunate. I mean, I've had a lot of experiences in life. Some of them not too good, through none of my own choosing, but I've had a tremendous amount of other. My world of business was always related to systems connected to businesses functioning, and because of that, my view of technology as in somebody in my age is I know different than a lot of people in my age bracket. I mean, I was selling computers in 1968 when they were driven by paper tape, and I go back before that with clunky stuff. A lot of it's not around anymore. But the point being that I think that gave me a perspective of the importance of things like technology, like listening, because I was in sales. The best salespeople were the ones who listened, not the ones who did all the talking.
Otto, it's wonderful to hear, but we do have to come to the end of this segment. Want to thank so much the supervisor for sharing with us the state of the town for 2024.
Thank you.
Your message of accountability is heard, and we look forward to having you as a guest when we get to the radio station again. So again, I also want to thank our listeners and viewers for joining us today. You're listening to Project Independence in You on LIU Public Radio.